Hi guys, welcome back. Today I want to share with you guys this little artist way journey I'm going through right now. I am working my way through this book, The Artist Way. It's a 12-week course on discovering and recovering your creative self, and I am enjoying it so far. It's tough and I'm enjoying it, and yeah, but I wanted to talk through it. So first off, I thought I would show you my copy of the book. I have been writing in it, marking things, whatever. I have been definitely using it. Yes, it got moldy, it got water damage somehow, I don't know when, and it's a little bit gross, but I'm continuing. It's fine, I'm continuing. So it is a little gross looking, but it's fine. I'm working on it, and you can see I'm marking in it. I don't care, this is my book, so I can just treat it however I want. But I'm enjoying reading this. I'm enjoying working through the tasks and the activities that come along with it. So I thought I would share about it with you guys. This is the little book that I'm using. Let me find the pages, here. Some of these pages I've been using to sort of document the quotes I like and parts that I'm doing in here. I wanted to show you guys these things first. I did try and record this video last night, and I found myself to be boring myself. And there's not really anything visually that I have to show you with these books. So I think I'm going to do a voiceover. So I'm going to be just doing some filling in of my journal, and I'm going to do a voiceover part, and then so that there's kind of something happening a little bit while I'm chatting to you guys. But basically I'm going to be talking about the first quarter of this book. So I've gone through 3 weeks now of the 12, and I thought we could have every quarter of the way through, first quarter, half, 3/4, and then the complete, what I've been doing, how I'm finding it, and just like a little check-in with each other about it. So some of you guys might be doing this too. This was actually, and I should have said this right off the bat, this little book club has been happening over on Instagram, and Bella from Pocket Full of Ponder initiated it. It's her book club, and I'm working through it with her and with some other people there, and I wanted to share about it. So we're going to do this video. I'm going to flip us around. Well, I'm not going to flip us around. I'm going to turn on the voiceover part, and I'm going to do some journaling. So there'll be something happening on the screen. I'm just going to be doing some journal writing and catching up. And I will then voice over with how the first 3 weeks of my little situation with The Artist Way is going. So let's jump into it. Okay, welcome to the audio part of the voiceover part of the video. So, week 1, this is a 12-week program, like I said. The first week we did at the beginning of June, and this week was all about recovering a sense of safety. That's the chapter title of this book. It's a super interesting book. I enjoy it. There are parts in the book where I'm like that kind of don't resonate with me so much, and then there are parts that really resonate with me. So it's just all kind of like a process of reading through the chapter, and the chapters are quite long, I would say, and finding the parts that really interesting and that resonate in some way. So first up, I really enjoyed the quote right off the bat. Actually, you know what, I should probably start with the overall premise, I guess, of this book. So it's, like I said, it's 12 weeks, and every week for that 12 weeks, you are expected to every day write 3 pages of morning pages. This is just in case you've never heard of this book before. You write 3 pages of morning pages, which is basically just like stream of consciousness, whatever is coming out, you just write for 3 pages, 3 whole pages, you go for it. And it's not supposed to be reviewed or good or anything. It's just anything you want, just coming out, and you write it down for 3 pages every day for the full 12 weeks, and even beyond if you want to. And also every week you need to take yourself on one artist date, and an artist date is like an hour or 2, however long, where you just take yourself and yourself alone. You don't bring anyone else with you. It's just you, to do something fun that will kind of fill up your creative well a little bit. So just doing something. It can be in the house, out the house, doesn't really matter, so long as it's something just for yourself that kind of is filling your soul a little bit. So that is the overall goal, and then there are also a few activities that you can do some of as well throughout the course of 12 weeks. Every week has its own little activities section at the end of the chapter. So again, back to where we were at. This is a recovering your sense of safety. Week 1. So first up, in the very first line of this chapter, I loved, it said, one of our chief needs as creative beings is support. And that immediately just like jumped out at me as being so true, because I have tried to do this book multiple times before and never succeeded because I didn't have any kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, oh my gosh, what is the word I'm looking for? Sense of accountability. That's the word I was looking for. Accountability. And so this time doing it with Bella has been super fun because it is giving some sort of like accountability that I am keeping up with it. And that's really good. Like, I haven't done everything. I haven't been perfect, but that's not really the point. We're just giving it a good go and seeing if we can create some momentum with it, I guess. So having support is so important, and I also love that about like our little creative online community of people, because again, I think without that support, things probably aren't as like regular or as, I don't know, I find being online really fulfilling, and getting to share stuff and see other people's stuff, it's really fun for me. So I do really agree that as creative beings, we need support. The second verse in this, I'm not going to go through every single verse, don't worry, but the second verse, it talks about this idea of try it and see what happens. And that just really spoke to me, because I can be quite a nervous Nelly and often just stick with the things that I know. So this idea of like try it and see what happens is something I absolutely love. I'm terrible at it at times. There are times where I'm much better at it, but definitely something that really resonated with me, this idea. And I think it's such a great voice to be for yourself and for others, you know, for kids in your life or whatever. Like, try it and see what happens. I think it's such a great like inspiring mindset to have. So that was something that really also stood out to me. There's a lot in this chapter and in maybe chapter 2 as well, I think, that kind of talked about this idea of like progress over perfection, or like, don't worry about making perfect things, just worry about making things. Progress, not perfection. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Just keep making stuff. And that is also something that really resonated with me. Over on, what page is it on? I'm flipping over the pages, kind of partway through the chapter. There was a really interesting part that really stood out to me, and it said, by being willing to be a bad artist, you have the chance to be an artist. And I really loved that concept, because so many people, I think, want to be an artist or a creative or whatever the word is that they want to use, but they don't think that they're good at it. And so they're like, well, I'm not an artist, I'm not a creative person, whatever. But by willing to sort of try and make art or create whatever anyway, even if it's bad, you're still becoming an artist. You're still making art. You're still creating. So you're still a creative or an artist, even if it's bad. So I don't know, that just really was something that felt so good to me. Like, even if you're a bad artist, you're still an artist. And how cool is it that you can claim that title? And I loved it. There was also this section just below that said, you know, when they're making this point of making things even if you're bad, they said that someone would say to the author, Julia Cameron, but do you know how old I will be by the time I learn to really play the piano or act or paint or write a decent play? And she says to them, yes, the same age you will be if you don't start. So let's begin. And I just loved that idea. It's so true. You will absolutely still get to that age. You'll still get older, whether or not you start trying to become that artist or creative that you want to be. I loved it. Such a good point. Such an important point. Yeah, and then the next page over, the other part, I'm just reading out the parts that really stood out to me as being something really interesting. There was a quote that said, all too often it is audacity and not talent that moves an artist to center stage. And that really struck me as well. This idea of it's audacity that moves you to center stage and not talent necessarily. That is something I want to ponder over more and more. You don't have to be really good at making art, but you've got to kind of put yourself out there anyway, and that can push you. And I loved that. Absolutely loved that. So those were the points from week 1. I'm totally rambling, that I super loved and that I wrote down. I managed to do my morning pages 6 out of 7 days in the first week, and my artist date was channeling my inner child, where when I was a kid, I used to love painting, And I used to stand in front of my easel and paint for hours when I was young. And I would listen to Vivaldi, The Four Seasons. And that was just like my artist music when I was a kid. And I loved it. And I hadn't listened to it in years. And so I decided that this week, week one was my artist date was going to be to pull out my childhood easel and stand in front of it for a couple of hours, listen to Vivaldi and make some art. And I did, and I loved it. I had a really good time. I ended up doing more painting for my artist day in week 3 because I just loved that week 1 so much. It was so much fun. So that was really good. And I did a couple of the activities. One of them that I did was writing about the champions of my art. So that was having to write down 3 people who really champion my creative self-worth and make me feel worthy of being a creative, and I loved that. And then also I did the activity of going for a walk, and the other activity of imaginary lives, which you write down 5 things that you think you would have liked to have done if you had 5 different lifetimes to do them in. So that was a really interesting prompt, and actually some of those things that I've written down have really been circling in my mind a lot, which has been really interesting. I'm not going to give you guys all the answers to what I've written down because I do think that there's some of it is a little personal. It's not like secret or anything, but just like a little personal. But it's been interesting. Week 1 was very interesting, particularly writing down these imaginary lives. Some of these things that have come up, I'm like, wow, that's so interesting that that's something I would want to have done. I don't know. Or like, yeah, something like that. So let's go over to week 2. Week 2, the chapter title is Recovering a Sense of Identity. And I've got a lot of quotes over on this page. It's been interesting. Week 2, I did, again, 6 out of the 7 days morning pages. I had I had a couple of days where I had to get up and go into the city really early. And so I just didn't get a chance to do the morning pages. So I don't, and I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. Whatever I get done is great. And what I miss is fine, whatever. I'm being pretty easy on myself, giving myself some grace. There was some really good quotes in this week. At one particular section just has like really caught me. So I'll get into that in a bit. But the first sort of quote that came up for me was, the great creator has gifted us with creativity and our gift back is our use of it. And I loved that. There is in this book a lot of talk about this great creator. I'm a Christian, so for me that's God, but a lot of people might think of it as like the universe or just like a greater sense of something. And I know that there will be a lot of, atheist people out there as well who won't really identify with that, but it's just sort of like this creative force outside of ourselves, I guess. So I feel like this book is not Christian necessarily at all. So if you are not a Christian person, this book doesn't have to be Christian. I feel like you can kind of take it however you want to interpret it. But for me as a Christian, I see that as God, and that's my version of it. And I loved that quote, the great creator has gifted us with creativity and our gift back is our use of it. And that really resonated with me, something so interesting about that. What was the next quote here? Whereabouts was it? I might not have marked it. I'm not sure. But anyway, I've written it down in my book. This part here that said, you will learn that it is actually easier to write than not write, paint than not paint, and so forth. And you will learn to enjoy the process of being a creative channel, to surrender your need to control the result. You will discover the joy of practicing your creativity. The process, not the product, will become your focus. And again, that's that whole thing we were talking about a little earlier, with not worrying about the product at the end. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just the process of being creative is so, so joyful. I'm a big believer in that it doesn't actually matter how a lot of your work turns out. I mean, obviously I still care about it a little bit, but it's not about that. It's not about how it turns out. It's about just being creative and letting creativity move through you. I think it's just, and playing and making things. I don't know. I think it's so good. So there's a section in here, which the section in this chapter that really caught my attention was the section on attention. And that was just, I don't know, really interesting and kind of like eye-opening for me, this idea of attention. I don't know, I just really, really liked it. It super resonated with me, and I'm actually wondering about kind of doing like 6 months, the last half of the year, kind of making this like my word for this next 6 months, because I have not done my one little word of the year kind of thing for the first 6 months. It's not really resonating and settling with me. So I'm thinking about doing kind of like a 6 months around the word and attention, because I just think it's fascinating. Some of the quotes that really grabbed me, there was a quote here by Henry Miller, and it says, "Develop interest in life as you see it. In people, things, literature, music, the world is so rich, simply throbbing with rich treasures, beautiful souls, and interesting people. Forget yourself." That just super resonates with me. And then Julia Cameron, the author of this book, goes on and talks about her grandmother, who had a very difficult life, and the way she survived this difficult life was just paying attention to things. Some of these quotes were really beautiful. She said, she stood it, which is, standing, dealing with difficulty. She stood it by standing knee deep in the flow of life and paying close attention. My grandmother was gone before I learned the lesson her letters were teaching. Survival lies in sanity, and sanity lies in paying attention. I don't know, it just fascinated me. And then the next quote that I've highlighted here says, "My grandmother knew what a painful life had taught her. Success or failure, the truth of life really has little to do with its quality. The quality of life is in proportion always to the capacity for delight. The capacity for delight is the gift of paying attention." And that has super struck a chord with me. This idea of paying attention and the capacity for delight and looking for the beautiful things. This grandmother wrote her letters all about these small miracles. She talks about, like, about the birds returning, or the flowers blooming, or the frogs, or the lizards, or just like these tiny things in life. And she paid attention to them, and it brought her life all of this delight, even though she had a very difficult time. And so that, I don't know, that really, really resonated with me, and I loved it. So that feels like something I want to dive a little deeper into, I think. So this whole week too really did grab me a little bit, and I loved it. So yeah, there's one more quote that said, "The poet William Meredith has observed that the worst that can be said of a man is that he did not pay attention." And I just think, oh my gosh, okay, we need to focus on paying attention more, because sometimes life does get very difficult, and maybe I need to grab onto those little things and delight in them a little bit more. So that is something that's really resonated with me. She had this really cool section called The Rules of the Road, which I really liked. The rules of the road: in order to be an artist, I must. And then there's 10 things. 1, show up at the page. Use the page to rest, to dream, to try. 2, fill the well by caring for my artist. 3, set small and gentle goals and meet them. 4, pray for guidance, courage, and humility. 5, remember that it is far harder and more painful to be a blocked artist than it is to do the work. 6, be alert always for the presence of the great creator leading and helping my artist. 7, choose companions who encourage me to do the work, not just talk about doing the work or why I am not doing the work. Remember the great creator loves creativity. Remember that it is my job to do the work, not judge the work. And 10, place this sign in my workplace: great creator, I will take care of the quantity, you take care of the quality. I don't know, these 10 rules of the road really, again, interested me. So this week, I think, did I say that I did? No, I didn't say. I think I did 6 out of the 7 again morning pages. And my artist date was, I took a whole afternoon in the city going through all of the thrift stores that I could find in this certain suburb. So I went to 7, I think. I went to 7 thrift stores and just took a whole afternoon browsing, and it was so fun. I haven't gone to any thrift stores in quite a long time, and I love going to them. So it was really, really fun to just browse and look at stuff for a couple of hours. It was really fun. Some of the tasks I did this week was list 20 things that I like doing. That was one of the tasks, just listing 20 things that you like doing. I did 5 more jobs that I would have liked in a different life. What does it say here for number 8? Oh, writing down 10 tiny changes. You write down, I would like to, and then you write 10 things I would like to, and these are like little changes. And then you have to select one and do it. And none of these things have to be big. Some of these things can be really, really tiny Some are big, some are small, whatever you want to do. And then the next few activities was select one and do it. And I had written down that I would like to bake some cookies. And so I did that, and that was very fun. So that was week 2. I am talking so much more than I was intending to, but here we go. Week 3, let's wrap this up. Week 3. This was the week of recovering a sense of power. So that was the title of this week. I'm just looking for where I have highlighted some of the quotes, what sections I've written down here. Okay, so the first one that I've written down here was, whatever you think you can do or believe you can do, begin it. Action has magic, grace, and power in it. And I love that idea. And I think it's true. I think it's very easy to kind of like overthink things and be really thinking about the stuff you want to do or make or whatever. But there is importance in actually starting it. And I think overthinking can be such a big problem for me and for, I know, a lot of other people too. There were some great quotes over in like the side panel. There's these kind of side panels that have other people's quotes in the margin, I guess, on this book. And there was a couple of great quotes down in those side panels things, which said, one by Brenda Euland. I'm going to assume I have no idea how to pronounce her surname. Brenda Euland? I don't know. We're going with that. Since you are like no other being ever created since the beginning of time, you are incomparable. And I loved that. And then somebody else said, which was Louise Nevelson, I have made my world and it is a much better world than I ever saw outside. And I loved that. And that really reminded me of this quote from Steal Like an Artist from Austin Kleon, that said, now what was the quote? Surround yourself with books and objects that you love. Tape things up on the walls. Create your own world. And I loved that quote. I actually have it taped on the door in my little studio space because I love that idea so much about creating your own world. And as Louise said, it's a much better world than I ever saw outside. And I love that idea. So I've got those things noted down. Over the page, there's another Eugene Delacroix. I don't know how you pronounce that last name. Delacroix, maybe? Artists who seek perfection in everything are those who cannot attain it in anything. And it's again, that whole idea, excuse me, that we've been talking about of this making stuff. Just make stuff. Don't worry about perfecting it. Just make it. And like, you can always go back and perfect it, tidy it up later, but like it's the making, the progress, the process of making that is the gold, really. So that is another great quote about that. So love that. Coming up to the end of week 3, there's a great little section about growth. And I loved that. It's sort of about that process over perfection thing. And it says that marathon runners suggest that you log 10 slow miles for every fast one. And like, this is something that we can also do with like creativity and art, like do 10 terrible journal pages for one really good one. Like, it's obviously you don't have to do them deliberately bad, but like, that's kind of the ratio you can expect and be happy with, because not every page is a winner. And also those 10 bad journal pages or 10 slow miles are still going to be improving you and teaching you something. And I loved that. And I loved that it said that the phrase easy does it is so true. Like, easy does it. Doing it easy accomplishes it. Like, so good. I don't know. So good. So, and then there was one more quote in the margin that I've written down here that I will read aloud. There is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and it will be lost. And that is really like pushing to say only you can do what you have on your heart to do. So just do it. So then we got to the end of the week 3 and I don't actually remember how many days of morning pages did I do. I did a lot less this week. I've got to say, I think probably 4. And my artist date for week 3 was doing more painting, and I did a lot. I spent a lot of hours just painting this week. I took some time off of doing anything else. No videos or journaling even. I didn't do anything. I just sat and painted for several days, which was really fun because I would really like to get back in touch with the painter within me because I loved that as a child. But as a child, I was very aware that I was not a realistic painter, and therefore I thought that I wasn't a good painter. And I'm not necessarily a good painter, but I haven't practiced painting in a long time. So, of course I'm not a good painter. That's part of not practicing, right? So that's something I would like to get in touch with again. So I spent a lot of time. My husband was away for the long weekend, and so I kind of spent a lot of my hours playing around painting, and that was an absolute delight to just sit and paint for as many hours as I did, because I just gave myself permission to do that. So that was really, really fun. As far as tasks, I didn't do super great on that either. I would like to go back and do some of the tasks, but I didn't actually get any of them done. So a little bit, I've slacked a little bit over week 3, I've got to say. And that I'm now filming this video at the beginning of week 4. And I'm hoping that in doing this, it's kind of, I've touched base with all of what I've learned so far and what I've enjoyed so far. And I'm hoping this is going to like spark me off again to get going and to get back into it and be creative again. I don't know. I've had a little lull. I've had a little mental health lull, drop, if you will. And so I'm now needing a little bit of reinvigoration to get myself going again. So I'm hoping that this video will have helped me with that. I have chatted way longer than I anticipated, way longer. I've just rabbited on. I will hope to be a little more succinct for the next one when we get up to the halfway point. I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about it. I hope there was some nuggets of interest that came out of it for you guys as well. I am going to continue on with this little project. I'm enjoying it. And I will be back to talk more about it at the halfway point, so in another 3 weeks' time. And hopefully I'll have more interesting things to say, and hopefully I will be able to say it in a more succinct way. I hope you are having a great day, and I will catch you guys again really soon for my next video. Bye, friends.